Hello everyone, this is Metroid Nerd number 9001, and this is just going to be a quick little video, but I wanted to show off that I was able to successfully earn the achievement, You're the Demonstrably Greatest in Civ 6. Now I've already earned the achievement, but I went back to my autosave for the last turn just to kind of show off the way things were when I finished. So, if you don't know what this achievement is, you're required to beat the Conquests of Alexander scenario on deity difficulty while earning the highest possible rank, which requires you to earn a score of 200, and you earn 5 points for every city that you own. And you have to win the scenario. You can't lose and still get 200 points. I tried that and it doesn't work. The part of what makes this achievement so difficult is that the total number of cities that you have to conquer only adds up to about 140 points, so you have to found a lot of cities. So, Diane, Alexandria and Aria, Methone, Alexandria, Troas, Amphilios, Alexandriopoli, I'm probably butchering these pronunciations, Pydna, Alexandria by the Latmus. I had to found all of these cities myself in 37 turns, mind you. The lowest difficulty, you have 50 or 60 turns to do all of this, but here you have 37 turns, and it took me exactly 37 turns to get all of this. And you may be thinking, how are you going to win? You have 3 cities left. But it took a lot of going back to previous saves and altering mild things that I did that I was able to get a scenario where I win by the absolute skin of my teeth. Because you have to settle about 10 cities, and settlers get more expensive the more you build them. So you can produce the first few of them, but in a city like Pella even, with maximum production, it would take 10 turns to produce a settler. But also, when you get to high enough settlers, it costs over 800 gold to buy new ones. Now, how you get so much gold is that in every single city, you build an encampment, and it automatically builds the Basiloki Pides, I don't know how to pronounce that, in the city, and that produces gold. But, and that's how you get so much gold per turn, and then you run the encampment training mission, or the city project, and you do that in every city. And that's how you get enough gold to be able to afford all these settlers at the end of the game, so that you can found enough cities to win. And I mean every city. And it's hard in a lot of these cities because when you conquer a city and it isn't one of these city-states, which is every city except Marikanda, Patala, and Athens all the way over here, they become occupied. And the occupation never goes away, so all of your yields in the city get reduced by 50%, and the city doesn't grow. So it's kind of stuck the way it is when you conquer it. It's not the case for cities that you found, like Dion, which can have like 5 production, which isn't very much. Or Pella, which is your capital, which can have a lot of production. So if I tried to build a settler in one of these cities, it would be impossible. So the only way to get a settler from there is to just buy it. But they keep getting more expensive, and you have to move them. They only have 3 movements, so it takes them 2 turns to move out to here. So you have to buy all of your settlers by turn 35. Now, as far as I know, in older versions of this scenario, you had to found and conquer enough cities to get to 200 points by turn 36, because cities settled on turn 37 wouldn't count. That's no longer the case, if it ever was the case. So all these cities that I'm founding on turn 37 will count towards my score. So as you can see, I founded 4 cities, and now I have 190 points. The only thing that still doesn't count is the final city you conquer. So these 2 cities here, 2 of these 3 cities will count towards my score of 200, but the third one won't, which is why I have to found exactly enough cities. I have 190, so this should get me 205 points, but this will get me exactly 200 points. Now, this seems like a pretty unwinnable scenario. Like, I have a bunch of damaged units. This city's at full health, this city's almost at full health. But it's very meticulous with what you have to do. And all these bonuses that you get from, like, the great generals, Alexander the Great, who gives 15 combat strength and 3 movement to all units within 2 tiles, and all these other great generals that give you movement bonuses and such, you have to be extremely meticulous with how you use them. So, for example, when I have to take Marconda, I take Alexander and move him here, so that all of 4 of these units are within his range. So I can move the archer forward and attack. Then I can attack with my melee unit, who's strong against cities. Now the Heterories, they also get a combat strength boost when there's a great general adjacent to whatever they're attacking. So that also gives a slight combat boost here. And then the final Heterori will capture the city. So that's 1 city down. Now for Saiva, you have to have a siege tower. Now this scenario was made in vanilla Civ 6. So siege towers still work with cavalry units. They don't anymore. So you have to move it adjacent to the city. Move Alexander adjacent to the city to get the great general bonus. And I have 4 Heterories to surround the city. And an archer for good measure just to deal a bit of chip damage at the top. Just to kind of weaken it at first. Now all of these are getting the 15 combat strength from Alexander, and the 5 combat strength bonus from a great general being adjacent to the city, and the siege tower. And that means you can just hit the city, hit the city, hit the city, and I didn't even need the 4th Heterori this time. But you have it just for good measure, because you don't want to not have enough. Now Kabul was the hardest city for me to figure out how to conquer with all of the limitations I had. And I conquered this one by the skin of my teeth. So what I have these units, but I also have an immortal with the amphibious promotion that allows him to move across this river without losing too many movement points. So I move the Heterori here, move the Varu, move the Hypocist, then I move the immortal, so I can range attack the city to weaken it just a little bit more. Move the great general here for good measure. Why not move this guy here? And what should happen is that these units attacking the city should be just barely enough. And you see I have 200 points after conquering those 2 cities to conquer the city and win the scenario. This is by far the hardest achievement in all of Civ 6. Most of the achievements that are in the game you can cheese in some kind of way by setting up a specific scenario, like a specific set of game rules for you to be able to win, or you can use hot seat multiplayer to kind of cheat your way into getting the achievements, but it's still within the game. There is the game knows when to draw the line to not give you the achievements, because you can turn on the tuner to kind of manipulate how the AI works, and that will disable achievements. But you're allowed to use stuff like hot seat. But with this achievement, there is no way to cheese your way into getting it. You have to use brute force and skill, and also some luck, to be able to get this achievement. If you don't have enough skill, you also need to rely on a little bit of luck. But it's an exceptionally difficult achievement. But I got it because I'm working towards unlocking every Civ 6 achievement. I'll make another video once the final iteration of the New Frontier Pass comes out, and I'll show myself getting the final achievement in the game, and then I might do a guide video on giving some tips on how to get all these achievements. Now there are also a lot of other guides for how to get this achievement, so if you want a full guide, I'll link some guides in the description and some videos for you to check it out if you want to try and get this achievement yourself. I just kind of wanted to make this video to give an overview of kind of how this achievement works. Buildings constructed, I'm the green. I built a lot of buildings, but I also had to capture a lot of cities. I didn't lose, the AI had to lose a lot of cities, but I also had to found a ton of cities, especially at the end. And there's a lot of spikes in gold. That last spike is when I had to buy 4 settlers for the very end. This is me buying like Heterories and siege towers throughout the game. The enemy gold doesn't really matter. There are none of these other yields, but also a lot of combats. The gap is because I was also making combat with Patala and Marconda and Athens. So these all the other lines add up to my own line, because I was always fighting with them, but I think they're all on the same side. Units killed a lot. Almost 100 by the looks of it. There's a lot of combat in this scenario, so you have to get really good at the combat mechanics to be able to win. But yeah, this is the You're the Demonstrably Greatest achievement in Civilization 6. This has been Metroid Nerd number 9001, and I will see you next time.